There are students from 7 different nations learning English together in this classroom. Poles, Chinese, Spanish, Mexican, Iranian, Italian and Japanese. All learning by speaking.
What would you do if you saw a mouse?
I would scream.
I'd scream.
If I saw a mouse.
And what would you do if you saw a ghost?
I would scream and run away.
And what would you do if you were sick?
I'd go to doctor.
And what would you do if you saw an accident?
I would go to police.
To the police, yes.
Teaching English to foreign students may not be exactly big business, but it is a business, and it brings in very welcome foreign exchange. From modest beginnings in the 60s, the business has now grown to 8 all-year-round schools and 28 summer schools, as well as a number of other centres which don't have official Department of Education approval. Bord Fáilte estimates that as many as 16,500 students come here each year to study English, so it would seem that increasingly Ireland is being seen as a real alternative to Britain or the United States, and most of the language schools are now actively searching abroad for students. One of them, the Language Centre of Ireland, has gone as far as Japan in its search, and the group of 34 Japanese girls finishing a month's course at the centre this weekend is the third one to pass through.
Certainly what weighed the scales in our direction was that the parents felt that the atmosphere in Ireland, the social atmosphere in Ireland, would be a Christian one, and therefore, in their eyes, a very moral one. And since they want to keep their daughters in a much more, let's say, restrained atmosphere than elsewhere, that is basically why they chose Ireland.
Perhaps now that they're here, they may find the atmosphere isn't as restrained as they thought.
I'm afraid so, but yes, there are certain incidents which have very much surprised them.
So apparently some preconceived notions about Ireland needed to be rearranged, as did some of the kimonos they wore specially for the camera. But our Christian image wasn't the only reason for choosing Ireland.
They say Dublin or Ireland is the place where the good English is spoken. And also we were sending our girls to America before, but it's not so inexpensive as it used to be, and also not so safe. So we started sending our girls here.
So it is cheaper to go to a language school in Ireland than in the States?
Right, somehow, yes, a little bit, I would say.
Teaching in a language college is very different from teaching in an ordinary school. For a start, you have to deal with a wide variety of nationalities. With the Japanese, for example, that means coming to grips with Oriental politeness.
The biggest problem is to get them actually speaking, because they have all the grammar, they have all the writing, but they won't come out and speak themselves.
Why not?
It's not considered polite to stand out. You mustn't stand out, they must all stay back. So you have to invite them out by creating real problems for them, situations that they will find themselves in, and more or less invite them then to solve those problems using language all the time.
Of course, there are two sides to the East-West cultural barrier. The Japanese, we have strange habits. Many of us don't spend too long in the bath, and we're extraordinarily fond of potatoes.
A bath is very different.
In what way is it different?
Japanese bath, like swimming pool.
In Japanese, people take a bath a long time, but in Irish, people take a bath is very short time. I was very surprised.
I love Irish food, but they had much potato, too much.
I think Irish people is very friendly, and very kind people.
And kindness is important because the students need to practice their English in the homes they're staying in.
Well, we in the Language Centre think that the family would contribute about 60 to 70%. You see, we can teach them English, but we can't keep them happy outside the Language Centre. And if they're not happy, they can't study properly. And the family contributes so much that we think they're the linchpin of the whole enterprise.
Okay.
The Brannicks are one of those families. They've been keeping foreign students for a number of years, and at the moment they're looking after Chisato Kaputa.
I do it because I think it's adventurous and it's interesting for the children, and I'm very interested in language in other countries, and I think it's a nice experience.
Do you have any problems when you get students coming to you who can't speak any English and you can't speak their language, Japanese, for example?
No. Invariably, there's no problem with language. You somehow or other, you seem to communicate, you know. Language is never a problem.
Rabbit. Hair. No. A hare.
Might I interrupt the two of you for a moment now and ask you, do you find you learn a lot of English by just talking to the children and being in the house?
Yes, I have learned a lot of things in this house. They are very helpful.
What do you think of Irish food?
Oh, very nice. I love it. Yeah, but many potatoes. Yes.
Like all their students, Chisato is treated as one of the family, and the Brannocks say they really miss her when she goes. But she probably won't be the last Japanese to stay in their guest room.
I mean, Japan is one of the few countries which is not feeling the recession in the same way that most other countries of the world are concerned, and therefore I see no reason why business should not increase if we do things right.